Welcome my students. Today we will cover the features of the living organisms. We will start today by the animal kingdom. Of course, all of the living organisms in the animal kingdom can be split into two major groups. So the animal kingdom can be divided into either animals with backbones that are known as vertebrates and those animals without backbones that are known as invertebrates. Also the animal kingdom, if we are further categorizing it, we're going to find that the invertebrates has cnidarians, flatworms, true worms, mollusks, echinoderms and arthropods, while the vertebrates are being divided into mammals, fish, reptiles, amphibians and birds. So we will focus talking about the vertebrates. So all these animals with a backbone, they're known as vertebrates. The living organisms under the vertebrates are fish, amphibians, reptiles, birds and mammals. If you are talking about the kingdom Animalia, phylum Vertebrates, very simply you can just know the word Mr. Fab in order to be easy for you for memorizing the 5 examples that are found, or the 5 classes that are under the phylum Vertebrates or phylum Vertebrata. Regarding the definition, the vertebrates are the living organisms which have a vertebral column or a backbone. Surely the main classes of vertebrates are: number 1, mammals; number 2, reptiles; number 3, fish; number 4, amphibians; and eventually the birds. Of course, if you look to this picture, there is the kingdom Animalia and the different phyla that are there. Of course, we have invertebrates. The amongst we have the nematodes, the arthropods, anneli, the mollusks. We're going to talk about them later, but now we are focusing firstly on the phylum Vertebrata or vertebrates that have the previously mentioned 5 examples or 5 classes: class Mammalia or mammals, class Reptilia or reptiles, the class Pisces or fish, and class Amphibians or amphibia, and the class Aves or birds. So the general features of the fish: they live in water, of course, they breathe with gills, they have streamlined bodies and have scales that cover the body. We will talk about them in details, couple of seconds. And they have a cartilage, whether it's made up of skeleton or, whether it's made up of bones or it's made up of cartilage. So also they are cold-blooded, and eventually they lay egg without shells, and all of the eggs have to be laid in water. The amphibians, they have a moist skin, they lay their eggs with no shell and also in water. The larvae have gills and live in water. Adults have lungs and live on the land. They are cold-blooded. The meaning of cold-blooded, the temperature is Igcse changing according to the external environment. This is the meaning of cold-blooded or ectotherm. Ecto means out and therm means temperature. So they are changing the temperature according to the surrounding temperature. And also we have the reptilia or reptiles. They live on land, they breathe with lungs, they have a dry scaly skin, and we will talk about this very detailed couple of seconds. They are also cold-blooded and they lay eggs with soft shells. Regarding the class Aves or birds, they have feathers, they have beak and wings, they have scaly feet, and also they have 4-chambered heart. They lay eggs with hard shells, and they are warm-blooded or endotherm. They have a constant internal body temperature. Or eventually we have the mammals. They have hair or fur, they have 4-chambered heart, they have placenta, and also they refer to as mammals because of the presence of mammary glands through which they are producing the milk and they can feed their youngs. Okay. Also, now very fast, you can pause the video for just maximum 5 minutes in order to finish this task. Here I'm giving you the 5 categories: mammals, birds, reptiles, amphibians and fish. And to the left hand corner there is the body covering and how it breathes and where it lives, and eventually there is how offsprings are produced. You can just pause the video for as a maximum 5 minutes in order to complete those blanks with the correct answer. There are some answers will be done for you. So now please pause the video, finish the task and back again after finishing. Now we're supposed to finish the activity. If you are looking here, surely the mammals, the body covering, they have hairy or furry skin. Also, how it breathes through the lungs, where it lives, mostly on land, how offspring are produced, mostly young born alive. If we are talking about the birds, of course the birds, the body covering is containing feathers, how it breathes through the lungs, they mostly live on land and eventually they lay eggs. Regarding the reptilia or reptiles, reptiles have a body covering made up of tough, scaly skins, and they are breathing through the lungs and they are living mostly in lands. Regarding how offsprings are produced, they are laying eggs. If we are talking about the amphibians, amphi means dual, by the way. Bia means life. So amphibia, they have dual life. In the beginning, they are hatching, or the eggs hatch in the water, and they are metamorphoses. Then they are making the tadpole that has a fin like the fish. They have gills like the fish as well, and also after a period of time they are metamorphoses into the terrestrial form, and they continue their life on the earth with the lung and limbs, and they get rid of the gills and the fins. So the body covering in case of amphibians, they are soft, moist skin, and there is no scales at all. And regarding the way by which they are breathing, surely when they are on the land, they are breathing through the lungs. When they are in water, they are in the primitive stage or in the intermediate stage or the tadpole stage. As we will go farther, they are breathing through the gills. And where it lives, on land and in water. On the land, using the lungs, and on the water, through the gills. How offsprings are produced? The offsprings produced by laying eggs on the water. Regarding the fish, the body covering, they do contain scales. How it breathes, through the gills, because they are mainly in water. Where it lives, in the water. How offsprings are produced? Of course, they are laying eggs. So if we are proceeding but in details, talking about every single category that we previously mentioned. Firstly, we'll start by the class bisques or fish. As you can see here, it has head, trunk, tail. Body is streamlined in order to suit the swimming. Their skin is moist and scaly. Those scales are for protection. They have fins that enhance the process of swimming, and also they have a dorsal, ventral, and they have a caudal fin in order to assist the body for the process of swimming. And regarding the dorsal and ventral, basically they are assisting the turning movement, and the caudal fin for the balancing. So the main purpose of the fins is for helping in the swimming. Also, they have the tail or the caudal fin that propels the fish through the water so they can move farther. Also, they breathe by gills. The gills may be covered with an operculum or a cover or a gill cover, or they open to outside in order to have the gill slits instead of having a cover which is known as the operculum. So some of the fish do contain operculum while others do not contain. They have mouth, teeth, and the mouth may be terminal or may be ventral. Also, they have lateral sensory line, which is sensitive in order to produce vibration of the water. It is very sensitive to the vibration in the water. and they lay eggs also in the water. The last thing, we are categorizing the fish as cold blood. Also, we have bony fish because the skeleton is made up of bones, and also we have the cartilaginous fish that the internal skeleton is made up of cartilage instead of bones. Also, the shape of fins, as you will see here, it may be forked or it may be non-forked. So we have to talk about some of the adaptations that are characterizing the fish. Number one, they have a streamlined or a fusiform or fused body in order to decrease the resistance to the water. They cover with scales for further protection. They have lateral line for sensation. They have gills for breathing, and they have different colors according to their environment for better hiding and also to be away and to be safe and for better camouflaging from their enemies. Now we are talking about amphibians. The main characteristics of amphibians and the adaptations. Number one, they have 4 limbs in order to be better adapted for the terrestrial life or for the land life. Number 2, they have a moist skin with fine capillaries for gaseous exchange, okay, in order to help their small lungs for the breathing. They have external eardrums for hearing. Their eyes are protruded out of the body in order to enable them for better seeing while the body is submerged in water. Their nostrils or the nasal openings are found at the top of the head in order to allow them for breathing while they are swimming in the water. Example, of course, frogs and toads, salamanders as well. Also here you can see the tadpole, which is the early stage of the frog, and when the eggs hatch in the water, the tadpole start to live and to live in the water, and has a tail, it has gills, external gills for better adaptation for the water life. They lay soft eggs, and those soft eggs are being in a jelly coat in order to work as a shock absorber and in order to protect them properly. And also those eggs are being hatched, okay, in the water into a tadpoles. So the jelly is being used to absorb water and swallow, or swell in order to act as a shock absorber, such like the life jacket, but for the small eggs for better protection. The male has a dark region, okay, below the lower jaw. It's the site of the vocal sac in order to produce the very well-known sounds for the frogs and toads that are members of class Amphibia. Eventually, the early stage or the tadpoles are adapted to life in water. How it come? It will be listed below. They have external gills for breathing in water. They have tails for swimming in water, and they have streamlined shape in order to have to reduce the resistance to the water as well. Now I'll go into the reptiles, and we can say that reptiles or class Reptilia, example of course the crocodiles, the alligator, the lizard, snakes, they have a lot of common features. Number one, the body consists of head, neck, trunk and tail. They have dry scaly skin which resist water loss. They have 2 pairs of short limbs for walking, swimming, but snakes have no limbs and they move by creeping. In continuation to the properties of reptiles, they breathe by lungs. They have wide, large terminal mouth with teeth. They lay eggs with a waterproof shell, and this is the first time to hear that there's a waterproof shell because they are terrestrial forms. They are cold-blooded also. So we finished talking about the features of Reptilia or class reptiles. Now we are further proceeding talking about the class Aves or birds. The main characteristics of the birds are: the body consists of head, neck, trunk, and tail. The body is streamlined for flying. The skin is covered with feathers. They have 2 pairs of limbs. The forelimb has modified to form wings for flying, of course. And the legs are covered with dry scaly skin, okay? And also they have beaks with no teeth. The beaks of the different birds are adapted according to their feeding habits or the different type of food that they will feed on. The examples here: the owls, the chickens, the penguins are considered as birds. Also, the birds, they breathe using lungs. They have 2 holes in the heads which lead to a deep eardrum, so they do not have the eardrums to the external, but they have it a little bit in groove or inside through 2 holes that are opening in the heads. They lay eggs with a waterproof shell as well. They are warm-blooded. They do contain a constant internal body temperature. One of the most important things here: fish, reptiles, and birds, they are similar in having scales, while amphibians and mammals do not have any kind of scales. Just keep this in mind. So, after finishing talking about the birds, we will go for mammals or class Mammalia. Such like, of course, human, dogs, cats, bats, horses, cows. All of those are a lot of examples of mammals. Okay, here we have the ocelot, which is the common name. The scientific name, as we discussed before in the classification, it's Felis pardalis, which is the Felis in the name of the genus, and Pardalis is the name of the species. It's a type of cat that is found in Mexico and in states like as well. The body consists of head, neck, trunk, and tail, but the tail is absent, okay, in the higher species, such like human. Human do not contain tail. Also, the skin is covered with hair or fur, and mammals may have whiskers, those that are found even in the cats, in the mouse, and the dog as well. Also, they have 2 pairs of limbs, upper and lower, for example, in the human. In continuation, they have mouth with different types of teeth according to the type of the food. We know that we have herbivore, we have omnivore, we have carnivore, and according to the type of the food, the structure and the type of the teeth will be different as well. They breathe by lungs, and they have ear pinnae, which is external ears, one of the most important things that are characterizing the mammals, and also they have deep eardrums. They give birth, and the females have mammary glands which produce milk to feed their youngs.